My fellow creatives, there are always choices that we have to make. And my question is, who should you listen to? Who should you take advice from? My name is Maria Brophy. Welcome to the Art, Money, Success podcast. And today I want to talk about two things. One is a very practical thing, the decision as to whether or not you should make print reproductions available for your art. And the second thing I want to talk about that coincides with that and everything else that you do, every choice that you make, is who you should take advice from and how you can ultimately make the best choice for yourself. And that's actually really the biggest takeaway here. The reason I decided to talk about this today is because an artist that I coach was telling me yesterday that she's in a mastermind, and she said that the discussion was around whether or not she should make art prints available of her original artworks. And she said the conversation got very heated because most of the people in this high level mastermind we're saying, no, you should never make art prints available of your work. You should only sell originals. Now, she wanted to set up a consultation with me because she was very conflicted by this advice. She was conflicted because she's been selling art prints, it's a good source of income for her. However, she wants to grow her income even greater. She wants to make even more sales. She wants to expand. And this advice went against everything that she felt she was in alignment with, the advice of the people in her mastermind. So I'm going to go into this decision making process when it comes to deciding anything. Who should you take advice from if you're just not sure what to do? Okay, number one, take advice from people who are already doing what it is that you want to do. So don't ask your mother for advice on art if she's a CPA, right? Don't take advice from your CPA on whether or not you should sell art prints. Don't take advice from another artist that has a full time job doing something completely different than art because they can't make enough money with their art. Those are just examples, but really, I mean, the bottom line is look for guidance from other people that are doing that which you want to do. However, take it with a grain of salt because in the end, only you can decide what is best for you and your art. And you actually have all the answers within yourself. This is something as humans, we always tend to look to someone higher than ourselves for answers. What we really need to do is cultivate a trust in our own inner knowing. So I asked this artist yesterday, I said, okay, so here you're in this mastermind and they're all kind of jumping on you, telling you you're wrong, that you shouldn't be selling art prints. But what does your gut tell you? How do you feel about selling art prints? And what has been your experience? And she said, well, Maria, I've been selling prints for years and it's a great source of income. But what I really like about it is a lot of people that love my art can't afford the originals, and I want them to have a piece of art. So that's what I really enjoy about selling prints is that it's not just for the wealthy. Someone can afford a $50 print, but they can't afford a $5,000 painting. And so that's when I said, okay, you already have your answer. So the opinion of these other people, while it's interesting, it's not relevant because you already know what is best for you and for your fan base. And that's what you got to go with. So, for those of you listening right now, and you are also wondering in your mind, should I sell prints of my art? I know some people say that you shouldn't, and then other people say that you should. I'm going to give you two checklists, okay? Here's checklist number one, when you should not sell prints of your art. Okay, you should not sell prints of your art if your original artworks are selling in this super high end luxury market. You know, you're selling $50,000 pieces, and the people who were propping up your sales, whether it's art galleries or someone else, they're the ones making these $50,000, $100,000 art piece sales for you. They call the shots, and they don't want you to make reproductions of your art. That would be a good reason not to. Okay. Another reason not to make prints of your art is that your art might not work with prints. There's certain types of artworks that you just can't make reproductions of because it doesn't translate. And then the third reason you may not want to decide to sell art prints is because it's not in alignment with your own belief system or value system for your art. You simply don't want to. Well, that right there is a reason not to. Okay. Now, my checklist for for if you should sell reproductions of your work, here's a couple things. Number one, if you want to reach more people with your art and you want to bring more joy to more people, you might want to make reproductions of your work available at a lower cost, obviously, than your originals. So you'll be able to get more people into your fan base. Number two, if you see it as a way of getting someone an entry level into your collector base, so maybe right now all they can afford is a $50 print, but in a couple years, you know, they've grown to love your work even more because they've got this hanging in their house, and now they're making a little more money. Now they can afford an original piece. And I have many collectors of my husband Drew's work that started with a print and ended up buying an original. And I'm going to tell you a story about that in a minute. Um, and number three, you should make reproductions of your work if you want to increase your income and your sales. Okay. We've had months where we've sold $20,000 worth of art prints. You know what? I don't care what anyone else says about art prints. It it's a great income source for us. So you can say all you want about it, but I'm not going to stop doing it because it works for us. I had a guy come into our gallery a few weeks ago. He was coming to pick up a print that he bought online. He ordered it online and he wanted to come pick it up rather than us ship it. It was a $400 canvas print reproduction. Okay. So he came in to pick it up. We had a chat and then he starts walking around and he sees this painting, this original painting, $3,500. And he said, I want that also. So that is a great example of someone who bought a print reproduction and this happened really fast, and then he bought an original painting for thousands of dollars. Oh, and the last part of if you should sell print reproductions of your work is if you want to. That's when you should. You should always do what you want to do with your art, regardless of what some art professor says. And by the way, most art professors, no offense to any of you art professors out there, but I'd say a majority of them have never made a living with their art. So they're making rules from a different game being played. And I guess that's the last thing I want to touch on before I end this podcast is there are multiple games being played in the world. And in the art world, that is true as well. There is the game of the luxury artist selling multiple six-figure pieces, and I'd say that's definitely less than 0.01% of the artists out there. There's the game being played of the artist that's putting their stuff on anything and everything, even in Walmart. That's another game being played. And then there's all kinds of games in between. There's the game of the artist that doesn't make any money with their art, but they get a lot of pats on the back and they win a lot of awards, but they still work, as a secretary or in at Costco, right? There's nothing wrong with that game being played as long as you're happy with it. In my book, Art, Money, Success, which you can find on Amazon, and I recommend you look it up, I teach about the game being played of an artist that creates a lifestyle and a business with their art where they are doing what they love without selling out, making your own choices, and making a living with it. That's another game being played, right? And the biggest element of that game, the most important element is that you trust yourself over all outside influences. This is something that gets beaten out of us as a young child, and we have to relearn it. And so I really want to encourage you to make your own choices. Don't do what I say you should do. And I will never tell you what you should do. I will only give you options. I give you options. But ultimately, I say, don't even listen to me. Listen to yourself, your inner guidance. That's what you should follow on every choice that you ever make in your life. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, um, leave me a comment or hit subscribe. This is on multiple channels. So leave me a comment on channels where you can leave a comment. And if you're following my podcast on iTunes or Spotify, subscribe and leave me a review. I would really appreciate it. And my last call to action is if you want to learn a little more about the game being played of the artist that makes a living doing what they love without selling out, check out my book on Amazon. Just search Art, Money, Success by Maria Brophy. And hey, thanks for listening. And I'll see you all next time.